titles. Current singles ranking 52. Highest singles ranking 27. Санкт-Петербург приветствует на центральном корте. Илья Ивашка, Беларусь. Победитель одного турнира ATP в одиночном разряде. Текущий рейтинг в одиночном разряде 46-й. Наивысший рейтинг в одиночном разряде 43-й.
Welcome along to day 2 of main draw action at the St. Petersburg Open. Here at the SIBO Arena, this ATP 250 level event with a very, very strong field. 4 singles matches coming up on the centre court. And a fascinating battle to get things underway here. Laslo, Djere of Serbia taking on the man in your picture at the moment. Ilya Ivashka of Belarus has enjoyed an excellent 2021 so far, winning his first title, breaking into the top 50. Great way to start the day's play. Some fascinating and varied matches coming up on the main stage here.
Whole world on the court.
And it's these two to get things started here on the centre court.
Where is the shot clock? I don't know. I started. So quick reminders, we have the net machine, stop clock when you have one of the numbers here. I start the clock after I call the score in Russian, okay? For the towel, when you put the towel, you have 4 boxes in the corner. If you don't mind, you put the towel in the outside of the box and you put the towel in the inside of the box, okay? You don't have to have box. Minimum shot, but you put the outside, they're gonna okay? And we have a TV changeover. Do you have any questions about anything? No? Live Hawkeye, so all the lines are scored automatically, including football. ATP and World, ATP and World. ATP. Ilya, receive. Good match.
So day 2 getting underway here on the centre court of the SIBO Arena in St. Petersburg. Laslo, Djere and Ilya Ivashka, the first two out on the centre court here. First of 4 singles matches coming up on the main stage today. Here is the draw. Pretty tough opponent for whoever does come through this contest. The number 1 seed, Andrei Rublev, awaiting in the second round. Seb Korda in this section of the draw as well. It is a very strong draw, as I mentioned already. This 250 level event, plenty of players looking to finish the season strongly. Oscar Chamberlain here to take you through it alongside Nick Lester. Nick, it's a good way to start the day. Interesting matchup here. Laslo Djere's had a pretty solid season, and Ivashka's had a bit of a breakthrough season.
Yeah, very much so, isn't it? I mean, a guy obviously who won in Winston-Salem. He actually played really well a couple of years ago, didn't he? He broke the top 100 for the first time, I think, sort of end of 2019 season. In some ways, the pandemic kind of just halted his progress a little bit, so wasn't quite able to kick on. But this year's been a very different player, and the story for this man, of course, has probably been a fairly disappointing year, hasn't it?
Yeah, fairly sort of solid, I would say. A few quarterfinals, a couple of semi-finals, made another final in Sardinia, where he won, of course, last year. It's not been a title-winning season yet for him. Could still change, of course, but 2 titles in the last 2 seasons, and most of his results have come on the clay. Did reach a quarter-final at an indoor hardcourt event in Nur Sultan a couple of weeks ago, but it's clay where we usually see his best tennis.
And I think that's the big issue, isn't it, for him, in terms of, obviously it does put a little bit of extra pressure on him with the results on the clay. You look at, as you say, his results on hard courts this year. I think he's won just 5 matches, isn't he, all season on a hard court, and that's not, you know, out of keeping with what you kind of see from him over the course of the year. He's just struggled a little bit on the slightly quicker surfaces. Yeah, 5 and 11 on hard this year, 2 and 5 last year, 2 and 10 the year before at tour level. So, you know, it's pretty significant in terms of the difference that he's struggling to adapt. Yes, you can play on clay, as we know, probably 12 weeks a year, max out, but you've got to make the most, obviously, of those opportunities. The clay court swing in Europe is pretty short, as we know, over the spring period. So he's got to try and find a way to be a little more consistent on the slightly quicker courts.
And he has a pretty tough opponent coming up in this first round match. Ilya Ivashka, 27 years old from Belarus, and won his first title this year, as you mentioned, Nick, and just pretty consistent all the way through, especially in recent weeks. Yeah,
it's grown a lot of confidence, isn't he, with his game. Watched a fair bit of that week in Winston-Salem. Served beautifully that week. That was the one element of his game that really did stand out, you know, in terms of the numbers. And in fact, if you look through the numbers for this guy, kind of combined serve and return, he's right up there on a hard court in terms of how often he's breaking, how often he's holding. It's posting some seriously good numbers, this guy, and, you know, top 50 player now. Obviously, good news for him, you know, when you make that breakthrough, you don't really have many points to defend initially. Those kind of weeks, those subsequent weeks, he's in that situation now where he's playing tournaments, a lot of these tournaments for the first time, so he is kind of able to build the ranking at the moment, and in another good week here will do that for him.
Yeah, Ilya Ivashka, winner in Winston-Salem, first tour level final of his career. Became only the second Belarusian man to win an ATP tour level title as well. Semi-finalist in Munich, where he beat Alexander Zverev en route. Biggest win of his career so far in terms of ranking. The semis in Nur-Sultan as well. Quarter-finalist in Marbella and Eastbourne, so a variety of surfaces where he's had success this year. And he did win rather when these two met last time. It was an indoor hard court match 3 years ago, though. Lots changed since then.
Yeah, I think if you look at Ivashka's results as well, twice he's made the third round of a major this year, isn't it? First time he's kind of made a dent in the majors, so that's obviously for him. He's getting more opportunities. He's been able to take those opportunities. In fact, went one further at Wimbledon, didn't he? Ran a 16, I believe it was. So he's been able to put a lot of points on the board, the Belarusian, this season.
So, first round action in St. Petersburg, day 2 of this ATP 250 level event. Ilya Ivashka and Laslo Djere battling it out for the chance to take on the #1 seed, Andrei Rublev, in the second round. First round bye for Rublev, of course. An interesting matchup here between two players ranked around about 50 in the world. World number 52 against the world number 46. Yeah, Ivashka winning the toss. Choosing to receive, so it will be Laslo Djere to get us underway in this first set. Comes into this tournament back of 3 straight defeats. First round exits in Indian Wells and Moscow, making his debut in St. Petersburg. So all set for the start of day 2. Laslo Djere will get us underway.
Good news for Djere is the court surface this week is pretty slow. Here in St. Petersburg, it's balls, as we were mentioning yesterday, have an impact using the head ball, and that tends to slow down quite a lot within sort of 2 or 3 games, so it's not that quick here. It's a fairly low bouncing court.
Djere with 19 tour-level quarterfinals in his career so far, 18 of those on clay. Most recent one was a hard court indoor tournament, Nur-Sultan, Astana Open. The last 8 there.
potentially one of the reasons why Djere's not had quite so much success on these surfaces. He doesn't really have a transitional game. You know, he's not a guy who you see come in a whole lot. And that's obviously not the be-all and end-all. We've seen a lot of players being able to have a lot of success pretty much from the baseline, but he's not a guy that looks for opportunities to get in too much. And, you know, probably on a hard court, you do need a little more of that.
Ivashka very different in that regard, of course.
He's lost a few close matches this year, hasn't he, though, Djere? I think he had match points, I believe, last week against Gilles Simon in Moscow.
40-15. Okay. Djere.
A couple of aces to finish off that opening service game. It's a good start from Laslo Djere.
Adina, first game.
Turn of the Belarusian to serve for the first time in the match. Actually missed a bit of tennis in recent weeks, didn't play Indian Wells. Withdrew just before Moscow, though he did play doubles there. Withdrew before his second round match in Sofia, and that came on the back of that wonderful run in the US, winning in Winston-Salem. Good run to the third round at the US Open. Semi-final in Nur-Sultan as well. The best season of his career.
That's it. No.
I think is it 9 first-time winners on the ATP Tour this year, being one of them.
Three 30.
Was played here before as well as Ivashka. The second round last year for the first time. Was in the first round in the 2 previous visits. It's nice from Djere.
Yeah, this is talked about the approach. This is obviously a surface where you have got to be wary coming in, because you're not going to get a lot of change out of the court. It's pretty kind of slow, it's dead. So the approach has got to be precise. Yeah, just to confirm, 9 first-time champions this year. This man was the 8th, of course. Sun Woo Kwon was the 9th when he won in Kazakhstan a couple of weeks ago.
Your service.
Boris Sopkin for a while, did Laslo Djere. Boris was here yesterday, we saw him in the crowd. Former coach of Mikhail Yuzny. Sopkin was travelling with Djere for about 6 months.
One game.
Does have quite an extreme grip on the forehand as well, does the Serbian, and you look for reasons why he hasn't necessarily played as well on a hard court. Can get a little bit rushed on the forehand side. Likes a bit more time on the ball.
15-0. 50-11. По 15. 50-0.
He was actually named, wasn't he, yesterday in the Serbian Davis Cup squad. 5 players that'll compete for their country in Madrid in a couple of weeks. Of course, they're in Innsbruck initially, the Serbians, but Novak Djokovic committing to play, which is good for the event.
A lot
of countries announcing their lineup yesterday. It's the Italian lineup that jumped out to me, actually. It's an extraordinary set of players.
It's going to be a busy end to the season for Berrettini, who, of course, qualified for Turin, didn't he? I think with that win last night in Vienna.
Good hold again from Djere. Pretty solid start here from both players. Djere with a 2-1 lead in this first set. Solid start here from both players. First of 4 singles matches coming up on the centre court today. Federico Del Bonis and Pablo Andujar going head-to-head next. Very experienced set of players there.
Yeah, when he won Winston-Salem, he was talking at length about his journey and the sort of help he's had along the way, Ivashka. Actually thanked one of his private sponsors, and that's, you know, a lot of the time, obviously, we don't necessarily get to hear about that, but fact of the matter is, as you know, Oscar, when you're coming up through the ranks, you need money. You know, it's hard to kind of get away from that when you're traveling, and you do need that financial stability. And when you think it's average a 5-year journey to break the top 100, that comes with enormous expense. And you know, he was the first to admit that he needed that help, and a Belarusian sponsor linked to the federation kind of helped him, backed him, and gave him the, you know, took a little bit of pressure off from that regard, which was huge.
Margins of success and failure in this sport are so fine. It is often down to what happens off the court just as much as what happens on it. As you say, if you haven't got the backing to go through those years of development and get yourself into a strong position, then it may never happen. Lovely touch.
Yeah, we talk about the 5 years, and that's exactly what it was for Ivashka. You know, he played his first professional events 2014. He first broke the top 100 at the end of the 2018 season. So it's a good sort of 4 to 5 years of trying to find a way through the lower levels.
Ivashka. 2 games on.
Such big money at the majors now as well. I think top 100's become even more valuable. You know, if you can get yourself into the 4 majors, just from a financial standpoint, you're looking at probably $150,000 alone just for playing all those, and then that gives you something to work with for the rest of the year.
Couldn't adjust there. Ivashka.
It was a great volley, wasn't it? Having sort of questioned his volleys, this was actually beautiful because it was a difficult one. The fact he got it back behind his opponent made it that much tougher for Ivashka.
Set it up so well. Djere just couldn't put it away.
Most confident of moves, was it? You could just sort of feel with the body language and the way he sort of moved up to it, he was a little kind of hesitant to go after the volley. He's doing though, he's making a lot of first serves. 12 of 14 so far.
That is another hold. Both players a decent start here. 3-2.
Дамы и господа,
A couple of games ago we got a shot of Boris Sobkin, who is here watching, officially listed as not being his coach. It's Eduardo Infantino, isn't it, officially listed, but Boris Sobkin is here, still helping him out in some form.
At 3:30 p.m.
Time.
May not be a million miles away, Ivashka, from being seeded actually at the first major of next year, mightn't he? I mean, you think where he is now, 43. Of course, we don't quite know if everyone's going to go to Australia. Maybe if he can have a couple of good weeks, he could be on the cusp, couldn't he?
1 or 2 withdrawals, maybe.
Yeah.
Just sneak in. Should be a remarkable achievement, really.
Yeah.
Net. Second service.
108 in the world at the start of the year.
Not sit. None.
Djere's ranking hasn't really altered too much over the last 12 months. Hovering around the top 50. Between sort of 60 and 47. Pretty consistent performer over the last couple of years. Title winner for the first time in 2019. Backed it up in 2020 with his second title. Made the final in Sardinia again this year, which is the event he won in 2020.
Good one. Good little chip, kept it low. See the way he was moving, he was kind of moving sideways. It hadn't really factored in the fact it was going to be quite so short. Ended up having to rush it a touch.
30.
Just a hint of an opening perhaps here for Djere.
Yeah,
just kept plugging away at the forehand, didn't he? That's been the side that in this game has just looked a little vulnerable. Great length though off the last forehand of his.
First break point. Great play at the net from Ivashka.
So quick to see the opening up the line, wasn't he? That was crucial. Once there was just a little opportunity, got to get the front foot down, take time away. Just pulling up off that shot a little too early, just coming out of it too quickly.
That's another good first serve. Both players serving very well so far in this match. Both over 80% first serve percentage. It's important you feel the kind of early break in this match, because for someone like Djere, who's not won many matches over the last few weeks, exacerbates your sort of feeling on court. You don't take a couple of chances, and it's easy for, I think, the mind to wander a little bit and just get a little negative. First real test for Ivashka, saving those 2 break points.
Yeah, I listened to a fascinating podcast the other day with Jim Lehr, who is a very famous sports psychologist. He's worked in all different areas of psychology, specifically in tennis. He worked with a lot of American players, and he was asked, how do you build confidence? Players, a player comes to you and they've got no confidence. Where do you begin to start with that? And he talked about, fairly simple stuff, really, just reinforcing and in players' minds, taking them back to moments where they felt good on court. Be it getting them to watch matches where they've played well, good moments in their career, almost kind of drip feeding it psychologically into their mind to remind themselves that actually, you know what, I can play this sport and these were good times. It's kind of a fairly obvious solution, but he said that's the way he really tries to help players that are low on confidence, imbuing them with that feel-good factor of this is what they can do and this is what they did do. Slight difficulty for Djere is he's obviously not got that history on this surface particularly. You know, I don't know if that's in his mind at all or who knows, but his success has come on a clay court, hasn't it? Largely.
Yeah, and actually, if you mentioned before about the speed of the courts, you'd think that that would sort of play into his hands a little bit here, but if you haven't got anything to back it up in terms of results on this surface, it's just that little extra barrier to overcome. Because he does actually look quite comfortable for the most part out here at the moment.
Yep.
Slightly different for Ivashka, who would probably prefer it to be a bit quicker. He likes to be aggressive. He's just having to be a little patient at times. Serving has been so good up until now. That double fault could prove to be quite costly. First one of the match. First break point for Ivashka. There is the breakthrough. Ilya Ivashka edges in front in this first set. It's been a tight one so far. It's the Belarusian who has the crucial lead here. It's 4-3.
Уважаемые зрители, подписывайтесь на социальные сети турнира Санкт-Петербург Open 2021 и принимайте участие в конкурсах компании Формула Теннис Хоккей. Я лучший фанат и лучший теннисный блогер. Все подробности в аккаунте Формулы Теннис. Станьте самыми активными болельщиками турнира. Dear spectators, subscribe to the social networks of the St. Petersburg Open 2021 and take part in competitions from the Formula Tennis Hockey Company. I'm the best fan and the best tennis blogger. Look for all the details in the account of Formula Tennis and become the most active friends of the tournament.
Crucial breakthrough in this first set for Ilya Ivashka. Spoke about the fine margins, and that previous game, Djere had those two opportunities. Wasn't able to take them. It's a bit of an uphill struggle if he's to get back in this set.
Pulled off the backhand again a little bit. again, you know, we talk about movement on a court. You can see that his movement when he hits generally is to hit and kind of stay or move back. He's not really hitting and taking a step in the court particularly.
Just feel as though things aren't quite going his way at the moment.
13.
We have seen just a little bit of a drop-off since those missed opportunities.
Body language is just a little negative, isn't it?
Ivashka ведет 5-3. Ivashka leads 5 games.
It's a good way to back up the break of serve. Very straightforward hold. Djere's just going to try and pick himself up here.
Out. 15 секунд. 15 left.
Svaki drugi poen u poslednjih 10 minuta, svaki drugi poen.
Po 15.
Without harping on the point, but you know, when you're coming in here, the one thing you want to do is you want to make yourself big, and you can see he's just not an imposing figure when he's coming in. He's sort of...
He's reluctant, isn't
yeah, and even then it makes the target that much bigger, obviously, for your opponent, because you know that he's not that comfortable. You're not having to hit the lines. You can... It was an okay pass, but it certainly wasn't anything special.
(15-30). 15-30.
His numbers just all round at the moment, dropping off here. Double faults. Unforced errors just creeping in.
Out. 15-40. 15-40.
Set points for Ivashka. Now, disappointing end to the first set for Laslo Djere. Had started pretty promisingly, had a chance to edge in front with a break of serve at 3-2, didn't take it and fell away. And it's Ivashka with a one-set lead in this first round match.
Yeah, head dropped substantially, didn't it? From not being able to take those two chances he had, as you mentioned. Total momentum swing in the match, didn't really recover. And contributed to some of these numbers. Djere's first serve percentage dropping a little bit, still pretty decent overall, but those second serve points were obviously fairly painful, throwing the 3 double faults in the mix too there. That's going to add to that number. Ivashka not having to do a whole lot, you have to say, to kind of break away and break free and take the first set in 36 minutes.
Time.
So that first set going the way of Ilya Ivashka. Started well enough for Djere. So very tight and competitive in the opening 6 games. Ivashka now serving with a 1-set lead. A false start from Ivashka here in that second set. What can Djere do, Nick, to try and turn things around? Just try and put those last few games behind him as quickly as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Mentally got to try and pick himself up pretty quickly, isn't he? He's not giving off, you know, the best body language right now. Difficulty is, you know, as I said, Ivashka didn't have to work that hard, did he? Really, to win those last 3 games, there was a fair few gifts. Not easy when you're in a tough spell, especially when you come off a week before where you've had chances to win the match and not taken them.
30-15.
And worth remembering as well what a long and challenging season it's been for everybody. Players always have it quite tough on the tour. It's pretty relentless, but obviously extra complications this season. So it makes it that little bit more challenging mentally as well as physically. So forgive players for feeling a little jaded into this final few weeks of the season. Djere's just got to try and find a way to put a stop to this run that Ivashka's on, but again, that was a pretty comfortable hold for the Belarusian.
Love 15.
Big game, this one, isn't it? As you say. Djere's got to try and find a way to get through it.
Po 15. 15.
brilliantly finished by Ivashka, but again, as you mentioned before, Nick, he just doesn't look convincing when he comes forward.
That's one of the more remarkable rallies you can see this week, isn't it? I mean, that was a smash, wasn't it? Just didn't want it. Just didn't want to hit it. And the first one, I think, even more so. But just didn't want to take it out of the air. And again, one thing you do see is just how tough it is to actually hit through this court and how slow the conditions are here. It's not easy.
Ball 30. 30. Second service. Sort of 40-30.
Just got a little bit more kick to the second serve. Just got the ball up a little higher on Ivashka.
Djere is on the board in set 2. This puts an end to that run of 5 games. Ivashka won consecutively.
Yeah. That picture we just saw was Eduardo Infantino. He's here with Laslo Djere. Coached for many, many years. Won Martin Del Potro in his early days, didn't he?
Did not say no. 15.
Disappointed with the return again. It was on the racket. It was a good serve, but he's in position. He's made contact with it. Just not making a play.
Serve 14 left.
You hit it cross court from that position, you obviously open up a few angles, but you hit it hard as he does. It was a really purposeful approach from the Belarusian.
And an ace to seal it. Picking up where he left off in the first set. Ilya Ivashka.
2-1.
No breakthrough yet in the second set. 2-1.
Дамы и господа, 15:00 в зрительской зоне состоится виртуальная орг-сессия участника турнира Санкт-Петербург Open 2021 Александра Пулика. Ladies and gentlemen, a virtual October session with Alexander Bublik will take place at the Spectators Arena, Green Stand at 3 p.m.
Time.
Djere still just trying to hang on in there in this second set. Looking to play Andrei Rublev, one seed in the second round. So 4 seeds get a first round bye this week. Very strong field in St. Petersburg. Shapovalov, Batista Agut, Aslan Karatsev, the other top 4 seeds, along with Rublev.
No, 15. Love 15.
Yeah, Rublev winning this event, wasn't it? It was a 500 last year, of course.
Yeah, second service.
Just rushed, wasn't he, on the ball? Never really like he was set behind it. Smiling to himself because he knows he was a little fortunate. It was quite a sort of tentative rally, wasn't it? Neither player committing particularly to the forehand.
It's opening up again here for Ivashka.
15-14.
Full opportunity to really take charge.
Sur. 30-14.
Here's Eduardo Infantino alongside Boris Sobkin, two guys who have certainly been around the tennis block on more than one occasion.
Left. Your service.
Surviving those 2 break points, Djere.
Advantage, Ivashka.
More frustration for the Serbian. Another break point to contend with here as well. This time he can't dig himself out of trouble. Ivashka, who edges ahead in the second set, closing in on a place in the second round now.
Yeah, no surprise he tested the forehand out either, was it? That's been the wing that has, again, looked as though it's lacking a bit of belief. Just rushing him off that side.
Petersburg. 15. Oh, Petersburg. 15.
Chance here. Just pulled up out of the shot too early.
15-30.
This is a big chance here for Djere.
Yeah, the key shot was the slice backhand of Ivashka there, because he just floated it too much. He just gave it too much air. It just sat there, and that put him in a defensive spot. This guy was able to really take it on.
Seen that a few times from Ivashka. That first serve getting him out of trouble. Let's have another point to deal with here.
Very good approach, because it's so easy to kind of overhit that one. It's low, you know your opponent's kind of fairly central in the court, so you're not got him too far out of position, but he just managed to give it enough and ask a question of Djere, who his forehand really hasn't fired today.
4 out of 4 break points saved by Ivashka in this match.
Ball share. Advantage, Ivashka.
Well, first time in this set that Ivashka's been tested. But he has come through that test and he's looking set for a place in round 2. It's 4 games to 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, a road outdoor session has finished. Will take place at the spectators area for extend at 3:30 p.m.
Djere really has it all to do now. Just never seems to have recovered from that setback in the first set when he missed those opportunities.
Oh, very nice.
15-0. 15-0.
Difficult volley, looked pretty simple there, considering it was central as well, had no angles to really work with. Just swinging away a little more aggressively, isn't he, in these opening couple of points? He's almost sort of feel he's just relaxed a bit here. A bit more of a go.
It's 30-15. Short 15.
faced his fair share of difficulties away from the court. Laslo Djere lost his mum to cancer when he was 17. His dad to cancer as well at 23. Dedicated his first title win in Rio to both his parents.
Djere. Ivashka ведет 4-2.
Staying in touch here with that hold. Just to find a way to put Ivashka under a bit of pressure. He's had break points in both sets. The Belarusian's just been able to produce in the big moments more consistently. Looks like a player high on confidence at the moment.
Point really up until then, but just looking for the finish, just the wrong side of the line. It wasn't really the wrong shot. There was a bit of space there.
The body language from Djere has been a little bit negative. When things have started to open up a little bit for him, when opportunities have presented themselves, he just hasn't looked like he believes he can turn things around. That point pretty much summing up his afternoon so far.
It's the obvious shot. I mean, in many ways, he's only got the lob to go to, but you're going to test him again, aren't you? Because the first one wasn't particularly convincing. We've seen earlier on how he didn't really seem to fancy it, and you know, he just didn't get the feet around the smash. He didn't accelerate with the racket head. It wasn't convincing. Just shy of confidence in that area.
14-15.
Ivashka continues to impress here. Solid hold once again. Very close to a place in round two now, leading by 5-2 in this second set.
peers into your soul, this sport, doesn't it? A sort of revealing 60 seconds that was, just looking at what's going through this man's mind. So difficult to watch in many ways, wasn't it? And, you know, it's been fairly obvious to see, isn't it, in the way he's carried himself out here. Brutal.
There's nowhere to hide. A tough debut in St. Petersburg for Laslo Djere. It's always going to be a challenge against a player in form. He's had a tremendous season. Serbian now serving to stay in the match. 5-2 down in the second set.
Null 15. Law 15. По 15. 59. Reach 15. 30-15. Sura 15. 14-15.
That's nicely done by Ivashka.
Sura 30.
Using the new balls to good effect off the return. People have to talk about the impact it has on a server, but of course the returner can get benefit as well. If if you get some looks at returns, it's going to add a bit of pace to that shot.
Rovna. Deuce. Bench. Advantage Ivashka.
Another double fault for Djere. First match point for the Belarusian here. A thoroughly professional performance from a player enjoying the season of his life. Ilya Ivashka comfortably making it through to the second round in St. Petersburg with a straight sets victory. Impressive performance. And once he seized control in the opening set, Ivashka, he didn't really let it go again. Books his place for a battle with Andrei Rublev in round 2. 6-3, 6-2 Ivashka into the second round.
Yeah, big turning point midway through the first set, wasn't there? And you do sense that Laslo Djere is a player at the moment that needs a lift, and he just didn't get it. And when those break points came and went, his level dropped fairly substantially, and those second serve points won't obviously stand out for the Serbian overall. Look at the break points as well, couldn't take his chances today, and it's been that sort of run for him, hasn't it, in recent weeks. But as you say, for Ivashka, a very different story. An hour and 14, another good win for the Belarusian. Meeting with Andrei Rublev, as you so rightly suggest, will be a good one, won't it? Rublev losing early last week in Moscow to Manorino, so he's talked a little bit about how he's feeling it end of the season. I think the Russians are perhaps a little bit vulnerable.
Tricky first match of the week for him. Win here for Ivashka will certainly give him confidence ahead of that second round match. He'll enjoy the challenge. He's risen to many of them over the last few months. You can hear from Ivashka now.
Илья, поздравляем с победой. Вам сегодня противостоял достаточно опытный соперник, у которого хорошие результаты в карьере. За счет чего удалось его обыграть так уверенно?
Мне кажется, что я достаточно хорошо подавал и в целом был очень стабилен. И мне кажется, он, может, не лучший свой теннис сегодня показал, но я рад, как сложился матч. И в целом я считаю, что я провел хороший матч.
So congratulations, Ilya. You beat quite a seasoned player who had good results throughout his career. What helped you to beat him in such a confident fashion? Well, I think I was serving pretty well throughout the match and I was playing pretty well. And I don't think my opponent showed his best tennis. But overall, I'm pleased with the way I played and showed some good game. Хватит сил на парную игру? Вам сегодня еще пару играть?
Да, я думаю, что, конечно, хватит. С удовольствием сыграю пару.
Do you think you'll have enough energy left to play doubles because you're playing doubles tonight? Oh, for sure. I'm pretty confident that I'll have the energy to play doubles and will be really enjoying playing doubles. Ну что ж, удачи в парном матче и в следующем круге одиночки.
Спасибо.
Well, good luck in your doubles match and in the next singles match.
Good win for Ivashka. As was mentioned there, he is playing doubles later today alongside Alexander Bublik.
Got to be on your heels playing with Bublik, haven't you? Try and calm him down. As Bublik was a winner yesterday in singles, comfortably going through.
7th seed here this week, Alexander Bublik. Really impressive display from Ilya Ivashka.